Watchers 3, Episode 5, Shadows over the Moon. Aboard Freedom, now cloaked and in a silent orbit around the moon, the Rocker sisters slumped into their chairs, a mixture of exhaustion and adrenaline coursing through them. The recent escape from the lunar base and the subsequent battle had left them weary, yet the urgency of their mission prevented any thoughts of rest. Nikki, her spirit undiminished despite the fatigue, was the first to speak. "We need to take control of that base again, and soon," she asserted, her gaze fixed on the monitor displaying the moon's surface below, a silent testament to their failed attempt. Brittany, her mind already turning over their options, nodded in agreement, but with a note of caution. "We need a better plan than the last one." The memory of their hasty retreat, while successful, was not something she was eager to repeat. Ashley, ever the one to find humor in their predicament, quipped, "What, you mean walking into the command center and demanding their surrender with just us three wasn't a good plan?" Her light-heartedness brought a brief smile to her sisters' faces, a momentary reprieve from the gravity of their situation. It was then that Freedom chimed in, its voice a constant presence that had quickly become both a comfort and a guide. "Your situation is not as dire as you might think," the ship assured them. "The insectoids cannot use any technology on the ship, and it will take them decades to prepare another Watchers 3. We have a moment to strategize, but we should act sooner rather than later." This revelation brought a new perspective to their predicament. The insectoids' inability to utilize the ship's technology or swiftly replace the Watchers 3 gave the sisters a crucial advantage and a window of opportunity they hadn't realized they possessed. Encouraged by Freedom's analysis, the sisters leaned into the conversation, focusing on the weaknesses of the moon base and the insectoids' control. "Let's talk about what we know," Brittany started, her strategic mind leading the way. "Freedom, what are the base's structural weaknesses and how limited are the insectoids in their control?" Freedom responded, "The base's primary weakness lies in its reliance on centralized control systems for power, life support. Disrupting these can isolate sections and create opportunities. Additionally, the insectoids' unfamiliarity with the deeper technical aspects of the base's human and master race technologies presents a significant handicap. They can maintain, but not innovate or significantly alter, which means the original architectural vulnerabilities remain unaddressed. But long as the security is down, they can forge makeshift weapons. Anyone other than the Watchers 3 possessing any form of weapon when main power is reestablished will be eliminated quickly and swiftly by security." Nikki perked up at this. "What about alternative entry points? There has to be more than one way to get in without going through the front door." "Indeed," Freedom confirmed. "There are several more ship hangars like the one we was in, as well as emergency exits not commonly used or monitored as closely. Utilizing these could provide a more stealthy re-entry. However, accessing them would require precise maneuvers and potentially expose Freedom to detection if not careful." Ashley leaned forward, intrigued. "And Freedom? How can we use the ship tactically to gain entry without getting caught?" Freedom laid out a plan. A combination of cloak and distract tactics could be effective. While remaining cloaked, Freedom can deploy a series of decoys to divert attention from your actual entry point. Additionally, utilizing the ship's advanced scanning capabilities, we can identify the least guarded entry points and the optimal time for infiltration. As the Rocker sisters absorbed the gravity of their upcoming mission, Freedom began a detailed briefing on the enhanced capabilities of their weapons, ensuring each sister understood how to leverage these new skills effectively. Nikki's defensive bracelet, already known for its energy shielding capability, held two more sophisticated functions. The first was the ability to emit a targeted electromagnetic pulse, EMP. Freedom explained, by focusing on a specific direction and pressing the lower quadrant of the bracelet, "Nikki, you can unleash an EMP that temporarily disables electronic devices within a 50-meter radius. This can be used to disrupt enemy communications or neutralize electronic devices." The second skill was holographic decoy projection. Activating this feature, Freedom continued, requires a double tap on the bracelet's center. You can project up to 3 holographic decoys of yourselves to confuse the enemy, draw fire, or scout ahead without risk. The decoys will last for a few minutes or until you deactivate them. Brittany's goggles not only provided a targeting system for precision attacks, but also allowed her to see through solid objects. Engage this X-ray vision by holding the side button for 3 seconds, instructed Freedom. It will reveal structural weaknesses, hidden enemies, or valuable resources behind walls or doors, granting you tactical advantages in planning your approach or escape. The third skill was a high-intensity laser cutter. A quick swipe on the goggles' interface activates the laser. It's capable of cutting through most materials, allowing you to create entry points, sabotage enemy equipment, or in dire circumstances, serve as a potent weapon. Use it judiciously as it drains the goggles' power more rapidly. Ashley's chest plate's primary function was mass destruction, but it has a temporary shield that protects the 3 when in use, just for a moment. The electromagnetic pulse, EMP capability was the chest plate's final ace. Activating the EMP, Freedom said, requires a simultaneous press of both sides of the plate. It emits a powerful pulse that disables all electronic devices within a significant radius, ideal for crippling cities or even small countries. Even close shielded objects within a mile will be disabled. As Freedom concluded the briefing, the sisters practiced with their weapons, familiarizing themselves with the new functions. They moved with a renewed sense of confidence, each now armed with a deeper understanding of their capabilities. These enhanced skills not only broadened their tactical options, but also reinforced their resolve to reclaim the moon base and counter the insectoid threat. After the exhaustive debriefing and the arduous battle they had just endured, the Rocker sisters felt the weight of the day, both physically and mentally, still covered in the remnants from their fierce confrontation, which could only be described as ant guts. They decided to retreat to their respective rooms aboard Freedom for some much-needed rest. The substance was sticky and alien, a grim testament to the intensity of the fight and the reality of their situation. Moving through the corridors of Freedom, each sister was lost in her thoughts, the events of the day replaying in their minds. The sensation of the alien residue on their skin served as a stark reminder of the dangers they faced and the battles yet to come. The prospect of a hot shower and a moment to themselves was not just a physical necessity, but a brief escape from the enormity of their mission. As they separated into their rooms, the promise of cleanliness and a short period of solitude offered a temporary reprieve, a chance to wash away the grime and gather their strength for the challenges that lay ahead. After the cleansing solace of their showers, the Rocker sisters found themselves gravitating towards the comfort of their beds. The warmth of the water had not only cleansed their bodies, but had also begun the subtle process of soothing their weary spirits. As they slipped under the covers, the soft hum of Freedom around them felt like a gentle embrace. The day's events, while still fresh in their minds, began to recede as exhaustion took hold. Lying in the quiet of their rooms, the sisters embraced the rare peace of the moment, allowing sleep to overtake them. It was a well-deserved rest, a brief respite in the eye of the storm that was their lives. The dawn of a new day aboard Freedom brought with it a renewed sense of purpose for the Rocker sisters. After a night's rest, albeit brief and filled with the echoes of recent battles, they congregated in the common area, each carrying the weight of the tasks that lay ahead. Over cups of synthetically brewed coffee that tasted more like watered-down mud than coffee, they laid out their plan to reclaim the moon base from the insectoid invaders. Nikki, her energy seemingly rebounded from the rest. First step, we infiltrate the base. Stealth is key. We can't afford a frontal assault with just us 3. Brittany, poring over the schematics of the base displayed on a holographic projector, nodded in agreement. Right. We use the maintenance hatches Freedom identified. Once inside, our priority is to re-establish control over the power grid. That'll give us a fighting chance to take back what's ours. Ashley, thoughtful, added her crucial caveat to their strategy. And when we do have control, we force the remaining insectoids back to their holding areas, locked down. Her voice carried a firm resolve, tempered with a humanitarian concern that had always been her compass. We're not exterminating a race. We'll contain them until we can figure out a more permanent solution. Nikki says, we will do what we can, if we can, without placing humanity at risk. The discussion then turned tactical, with Freedom providing input on the base's layout and potential weak points in the insectoid's control. They debated the merits of various entry points, the timing of their infiltration to exploit the base's shift changes, and how to utilize their newly understood weapon capabilities to their advantage. We need to be quick and precise, Brittany concluded. Disable their command center, secure the power grid, and initiate lockdown protocols for the remaining insectoids, all without triggering a full-scale war inside the base. Nikki grinned. Just another day for the Rocker sisters then. Ashley, looking between her sisters, found strength in their presence. We do this right, and we can start negotiating for peace. A real peace, not just for us, but for everyone affected by this conflict. Brittany blurts out, you do know I would prefer to bring an anteater with us, guaranteeing Earth's safety. Nikki explains, yeah, we know, but we do it Ashley's way, the humane way, the human way. With their plan in place, the sisters spent the remainder of their meeting fine-tuning details, each contribution guided by Freedom's insights and their shared experiences. The mood was serious, yet underlined with an unspoken bond of trust and mutual respect. They were not just planning a military operation, they were paving the way for a future they believed in, one where decisions were made not by the might of weapons, but by the strength of ideals. As they rose from the table, the plan set, the Rocker sisters felt the weight of the day ahead. It would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but also with the potential for change. In their hearts, with a shared look of determination, they prepared to embark on their mission, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The Rocker sisters, guided by Freedom, set their sights on the lunar base's maintenance hatches as their point of entry. These hatches, often overlooked and minimally guarded, presented the perfect opportunity for a stealthy infiltration. Freedom, utilizing its advanced scanning capabilities, identified the least monitored hatch. After docking with the hatch, the girls set out on their journey through the maintenance tunnels of the lunar base, with determination and Freedom's invaluable guidance. These tunnels, a network of narrow, dimly lit corridors running like veins beneath the base's surface, were originally designed for robotic maintenance units, not human passage. This made their trek not only a physical challenge, but a claustrophobic journey through the bowels of a facility now under enemy control. Nikki, leading the group, utilized the light from her defensive bracelet to illuminate their path, revealing the stark, utilitarian design of the tunnel system. The walls were lined with pipes and cables, humming with the lifeblood of the base's operations. Every few meters they passed junction boxes and control panels, sealed and secure, markers of a path less traveled. Brittany kept close watch on the digital map displayed on her wrist device, ensuring they remained on course. The complexity of the tunnel system was daunting, with junctions and intersections that could easily disorient or lead them into a dead end. Her voice steady as she directed Nikki at each turn. Left here, straight past the next two junctions, then a right. Ashley, bringing up the rear, was the silent guardian. Her senses were heightened, attuned to any sound or movement that might indicate they were not alone in the tunnels. Her focus remained on the mission, her trust in her sister's abilities and Freedom's planning unwavering. The air in the tunnels was stale, the only sounds their soft footsteps and the distant, muffled hum of the base's operations. They moved with a blend of caution and speed. As they approached the section of the tunnel system nearest the power grid control room, the tension among them grew. This was the crux of their infiltration, the point at which their presence was most at risk of being detected. Brittany paused, signaling a halt with a raised hand. We're close. The next junction should take us right to the service hatch behind the control room. Remember, stealth is our priority. We can't afford to alert them. The sisters prepared to breach the final barrier. Nikki, with a nod from Brittany, carefully approached the service hatch, her tools at the ready to manually open the door. The moment the hatch silently swung open, revealing the dimly lit back corridor of the power grid control room, marked a significant victory in their stealthy approach. They had successfully infiltrated the heart of the base without alerting the insectoid occupiers. Upon reaching the control room, they were met with a maze of consoles, wires, and blinking lights, a daunting task for even the most skilled technician. Ashley, with her knack for technology, immediately set to work, attempting to navigate the complex system to restore power to the base. The others kept watch, their weapons at the ready. After several tense minutes of Ashley's concentrated efforts, it became apparent that their initial attempt to restore power had failed. The system was more complicated and heavily guarded than they had anticipated, protected by layers of security measures left by the master race and further complicated by insectoid modifications. As they regrouped to plan their next move, disaster struck. The failed attempt had not gone unnoticed, triggering silent alarms that called the insectoid forces to swarm their location. Within moments, the corridor was flooded with insectoid soldiers, their menacing forms advancing with a singular purpose to eliminate the intruders. Under the harsh, artificial light, the Rocker sisters found themselves in the midst of a fierce battle for control. The insectoids, swarming with a relentless ferocity, seemed to be everywhere at once, their chittering clicks echoing off the metal walls, creating a cacophony of impending doom. Nikki, amidst the chaos, tapped into her bracelet's holographic decoy feature. With a swift gesture, she deployed multiple holograms of the Rocker sisters, creating a confusing tableau of defenders. The holograms, exact replicas, moved with lifelike precision, drawing the insectoid's attention, allowing the real sisters to launch a counterattack from the flanks. Nikki maneuvered through the battlefield, her energy shields flaring to life with each attack that came too close. Her focus split between sustaining the illusions and protecting her flesh-and-blood companions. Brittany, her targeting goggles highlighting the weak points of their adversaries, moved with calculated precision. Each shot from her weapon was aimed with surgical accuracy, exploiting the momentary confusion among the insectoids caused by Nikki's holograms. She darted from cover to cover, her movements a blur as she systematically took down the enemy, her resolve as unyielding as the metal underfoot. Ashley, bearing the heaviest of their armaments, knew the time for her chestplate's destructive capability was drawing near. The insectoids, though momentarily baffled by the holograms, were adapting quickly, their numbers seemingly endless. As the battle raged, she positioned herself at the heart of the fray, her finger hovering over the activation for the chestplate's focused energy burst. The fight reached a crescendo, the air thick with the smell of ozone and alien ichor. The Rocker sisters, surrounded and outnumbered, fought with a desperation and the unspoken knowledge that retreat was not an option. It was then Ashley made her move, unleashing the chestplate's power in a controlled burst of raw energy. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. A shockwave of kinetic force radiated out from Ashley, throwing back the nearest insectoids with bone-crushing intensity. The blast cleared a temporary circle of space around them, the insectoids caught in the direct path of the energy either incapacitated or flung against the unforgiving metal walls. In the wake of the blast, a momentary silence fell over the corridor. The holograms flickered out of existence. Their purpose served as the sisters regrouped, breathing heavily but unbroken. The insectoids, though momentarily repelled, began to regather their forces, their clicks and movements heard in the distance. The Rocker sisters, seizing the brief reprieve, exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Their bond, forged in love and tempered in battle, was their greatest strength. With the corridor temporarily cleared, they knew this was their chance to push forward, to exploit the opening Ashley's weapon had created. Nikki screams out, "If we don't get that power on, we're dead." As the Rocker sisters steadied themselves, Brittany's keen observation through her X-ray vision goggles revealed a chilling development. The insectoids were regrouping, not just at the corridors, but moving through the walls themselves. exploiting the base's maintenance shafts and structural vulnerabilities to encircle them. "They're coming through the walls!" she called out, her voice a mix of urgency and disbelief. The revelation sent a ripple of apprehension through the group. In the center of the room stood Ashley, recognizing the immediacy of the threat and the strategic disadvantage of their position. She made a split-second decision. "Cover me," she said, her tone brooking no argument as she stepped forward into the breach. Ashley shouts, "Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more." With the insectoid's advance nearly upon them, Ashley activates the weapon. The air around her crackled with energy, a palpable tension building before she released another controlled blast. The power of the chest plate, even in a diminished capacity, was formidable. The ensuing explosion was smaller than the first, but no less effective, creating a barrier of force that sent the leading wave of insectoids reeling back, their forms crumpling under the sudden assault. Brittany, assessing the situation with a tactical eye, realized the importance of maintaining their defense while conserving their strength for the battles yet to come. Nikki, meanwhile, readied herself for another round, her defensive bracelet glowing in anticipation of the insectoid's next move. Brittany quickly assessed the situation. Realizing that brute force would not win this fight, she scanned the room for any advantage. Her eyes landed on a secondary control panel, less prominent and dusty from apparent disuse, a remnant of the original base design possibly overlooked by the insectoids. With no time to waste, Brittany shouted instructions to her sisters, "Cover me!" as she made a dash for the panel. Nikki sprang into action, providing a protective barrier from her energy shields, buying Brittany the precious moments she needed. The insectoids make another push. Ashley screams out, "Here they come!" Nikki puts holograms in key spots to distract the insectoids. It was at this moment Ashley decided to let loose. In a desperate bid to turn the tide of the relentless assault, Ashley, with a steely resolve, prepared her chest plate for one final decisive blast. As she unleashed the energy stored within, the room was engulfed in a shock wave that sent the remaining insectoids tumbling, their advance halted by the sheer force of the blast. The equipment around them buckled and dented under the pressure, the very air vibrating with the power unleashed. In the aftermath, a smoky haze filled the room, drifting lazily in the air and casting the chaos in a surreal light. It was a scene oddly reminiscent of the days back home, lounging in a cloud of smoke after smoking a bong, a stark contrast to the battle they had just endured. The haze, while a reminder of more peaceful times, also served as a stark visual metaphor for their current situation, caught in the fog of war, yet together, finding a way to push through. Brittany's fingers flew over the secondary panel, her mind racing to recall a fragment of information from Freedom's earlier briefings, a back door into the base's power grid, a fail-safe built by the original engineers for emergency reactivation. As the insectoids closed in, a palpable sense of urgency fueled her efforts. Ashley yells, "I'm out," dipping back behind Nikki. Nikki replies, "If you're going to do something, now's the time, Brittany." Brittany stepped forward, 2 feet to the left, towards the other console that seemed forgotten by time, its surface coated in a fine layer of cosmic dust. Her fingers hesitated for just a moment before pressing down on the activation sequence, a series of commands that felt more like a hopeful incantation than a technological procedure. As she initiated the final command, the room held its breath. The only sound was the soft, mechanical hum of the console coming to life. The display flickered, stuttered, and then, with a surge of light that cut through the gloom, the power grid's status indicators sprang to life, casting an eerie glow across Brittany's determined face. In that moment, the resurgence of power throughout the lunar base felt like a palpable pulse, a heartbeat restored, heralding a new dawn of control for the Rocker sisters. With the base's power grid now under their control and the security systems reactivated, the Rocker sisters witnessed the immediate mobilization of the base's dormant defense mechanisms. Drone security forces, previously inactive, sprang to life, emerging from hidden compartments within the walls, their targeting systems locked onto the insectoid invaders with unerring precision, driving them back with a barrage of energy blasts. The alarms blared a relentless warning, their sound echoing through the corridors as the base's AI announced a worker lockdown, its synthetic voice cold and impersonal. All workers to their quarters immediately. Failure to comply will result in elimination. The once chaotic battleground transformed into a meticulously orchestrated theater of defense, the drones efficiently herding the insectoids back into their designated containment areas. The sudden shift in control was palpable, a stark reminder of the technological prowess embedded within the lunar base now wielded by the Rocker sisters in their fight to reclaim their stronghold. With the base's automated security systems now effectively turning the tide against the insectoids, the Rocker sisters took swift action to secure the facility and ensure the containment of their adversaries. First, they focused on securing the base's critical systems, particularly the power grid and communication networks. Brittany, utilizing her strategic insight, coordinated with Freedom to implement encryption protocols that would prevent the insectoids from accessing or sabotaging these systems in the future. Ashley, with her technical expertise, took charge of reinforcing the containment areas where the insectoids were being herded. She modified the locking mechanisms to include biometric locks that only the sisters could open, effectively turning sections of the base into secure holding facilities. Additionally, she deployed surveillance drones to monitor these areas, providing them with real-time data on the insectoids' movements and any potential threats to the base's security. Finally, with the base secured and the immediate threat contained, the sisters retreated to the command center to plan their next moves. They utilized Freedom's advanced monitoring systems to observe the insectoids' behavior within the containment areas, looking for any signs of organization or attempts to escape. This observation period was crucial in understanding their enemy and planning for the long-term security. Back in the command center, now fully operational and under their command, they reviewed the surveillance feeds, satisfied with their work, but aware that the true challenge lay in what to do with the insectoids. Ashley, who had argued for their preservation, insisted on finding a diplomatic solution, one that could potentially end hostilities and establish a precedent for coexistence. The mood was cautiously optimistic until Freedom interrupted their discussions with an urgent alert. "Incoming transmission," the AI announced, its tone indicating the seriousness of the message. The sisters exchanged wary glances as the holographic display flickered to life, revealing the silhouette of a figure they had not anticipated. The figure, shrouded in shadow, spoke with a voice that carried authority. "Rocker sisters," it began, its tone laced with an emotion they couldn't quite place. "You have something that belongs to us. Consider this a courtesy call. Hand over the base and the technology within, and we can avoid further unpleasantness." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The sisters stood motionless, processing the implications. Who was this new player? What did they want with the base, and how did they know about the Rocker sisters? As they faced each other, the realization dawned on them that their fight was far from over. In fact, a new chapter was just beginning, one that promised even greater challenges, a palpable tension that hinted at the complexities and dangers yet to come. The battle for the lunar base was not just about the insectoids anymore. It was part of a larger, more intricate web of power, technology, and cosmic politics that the Rocker sisters were only just beginning to unravel. B.N.Rocker.